sing with our hearts, make a melody, teaching others with the songs that we sing. We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody.
Welcome to From Pitch to Praise, a podcast dedicated to inspiring and equipping worship leaders, ministers, and song leaders within the church.
I'm Matt Parker from Infusion Ministries.
And I'm Alan Baggett. Together, we're here to share insights, stories, and practical tools to help you lead your congregation in heartfelt, God-honoring worship.
Whether you're leading worship from the pulpit, in a classroom, or just seeking to deepen your understanding of what it means to praise God in song, this is the podcast for you.
Let's explore the harmony between leadership, faith, and worship. Welcome to From Pitch to Praise.
Make a melody.
All right, Alan, we're back again.
You're back, man.
And if you're hanging
Podcast
out with
ongoing.
us, it's still going.
It's still going.
There's still people watching, I hope.
Well, we hope.
We hope.
We're several layers in now.
Right. If they're still with us now, they're hooked.
We're excited about it.
So
And we've got a special guest.
we
here
do.
today.
We are actually in a temporary studio.
We're in a dungeon, actually.
That
I
we-
think they have kicked us out of Worship Leader Institute.
Yes.
And they forced us into this closet. But we're here. We're talking
here.
to people. They're bringing people into us to let us engage.
That's
we're
right.
Totally joking.
So yes, we are at what we've been talking about. We are at Worship Leader Institute this week.
That's it.
This is the first night, so we have voices.
We do.
That's
right.
By the end of this week, we may not have voices, and that's okay.
Or it could be as low as the guy that's sitting next to us.
That's-
Let's introduce Mr. Shane Coffman. Shane, thanks for being here.
Coffman.
today.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Good to see you guys again.
Shane, Matt, he is the worship minister, worship leader, worship
Correct.
minister in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Memorial Drive.
Memorial Drive.
And you've been there for 19 years.
This month marks 19 years.
19
Memorial
years.
Drive.
Wow.
That's a long time.
How do you?
been a
how
while.
do you keep the energy up for 19 years? Tell us about that.
Well, there have been enough different seasons.
Okay.
I mean, if I think back, I got there in 2006, and if I think back to 2006 to
Yeah.
like 2010, that was a whole lifetime ago.
A lot of birthdays
Like,
between
yeah,
that.
it
You slept
doesn't
a few
even
times.
feel the same.
Yeah.
You know, back then I still had hair.
Oh.
You know?
Are there pictures of that on the
Yeah,
interweb that we
there
can pull?
probably are a few.
We
yeah.
are so fine.
We
with
should
this.
go. We should
few.
definitely Google that later. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So you go through seasons.
Yeah.
and you reach points. Like I remember a time in 2019 where I thought my time was probably done, because the couple years before it felt stale, and it felt like the church needed something new, and I
Sure.
probably needed something new. And then God sends, whatever He sends, that makes all things
refresh.
new again.
Refine.
It restores and refreshes, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, it feels brand new again,
Wow.
even though you're in the same
What
place.
a blessing.
That's
So-
that's awesome.
We're excited to talk about you. So Matt and I both met Shane, 2 years ago, first session at WLI, and
Is
Shane.
that Jacksonville?
That was Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah.
And Shane is kind of the master of. I mean, I feel like a lot of things.
He's a master of a lot.
Flow and worship planning. I mean, I can distinctly remember listening to Shane talk about things and theology behind songs and how to truly guide your congregation. Congregation.
That's what he just said.
It's been a long day.
Conversation.
Conversation with the congregation, taking them from point A to point B, and it was really eye-opening for me. Shane, tell our listeners, like, if you don't mind, like, why does worship flow? Why does that matter?
Well,
That's an easy question, right?
it really it is, but it isn't.
It's layered. It's like an onion.
It is. It
It's
is
like
layered.
Shrek is an onion.
Okay. A really good plan will compensate for even poor leadership
Ooh.
at times,
Okay.
or less experienced or less skilled leadership. A really good plan will keep people engaged. A really good plan will draw people to places maybe that they've never gone before. And so worship planning to me is just a really important part of the overall job,
Okay.
if you want to call it a job, the task, the ministry,
Right.
whatever that is creating these moments, curating these moments where there's no distraction, where everybody's drawn in, because the lyrics that we're singing are taking them on a journey.
Oh, I like that. Taking them on a journey.
You know, we talk in our worship planning class about telling a story.
Okay. Yeah.
We want to tell a story, and we know the story we're telling. We're telling the gospel
That's
story.
right.
We're telling the greatest story,
And it's good
ever.
news.
And it's
And
good
joyful.
news.
It's
to be good
exciting.
news.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so, you know, we talk about, you know, for any given topic, where's the good news in that?
Right.
And how do we get there? It's not just, let's just sing 8 songs about grace, but how do we prepare people to really feel and be grateful for the grace that God has given them individually?
Wow.
And what's it
Right.
going to take to get them to that point? Because they're not going to be there when they walk in the door.
Right.
Right.
They're either still finishing their morning coffee, or if it's Wednesday night, they just got there at the end of a long day's work, and they're all frazzled and so
Or you just yell
tired.
at your
you
kids in
know?
the parking lot.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Yeah, running
And
late.
so,
I love Jesus.
and so what's it going to take people from A to wherever Z?
Yeah.
It's going to be a journey, and how can we plan that to take them along for the ride?
That's great.
That's good stuff.
So, just to give us some insight into how many members do you have at your congregation on an average? Sunday
On
morning?
an average Sunday right now, we're probably running about 340.
Okay.
Somewhere
All right.
around
So
there.
I think
So
that's like middle large.
It-
I think, right, numerically.
I would say
350
it's
is like
large. I mean,
right?
it is ebbed and flowed.
Okay.
We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so there's several churches of Christ there.
Okay.
You know,
This
it's
is a
not
new
like
building.
Texas.
A
Not
brand
like
new-
Texas though.
That's there's some huge churches there.
Yeah.
But you guys just built
Brand
brand
new.
new building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we talked about those seasons where God kind of makes
Yeah.
things new. Well, for us in 2019, we had a fire. We had 2 fires.
wow.
And
That's
through the course
unfortunate.
of those 2 fires, it completely wiped out our building.
Wow.
And honestly, that was God's grace to us.
A
That was one of the
reality.
best things that has happened to our church family in a long time.
wow.
Because it got us. We were at a point, I think, where everyone was kind of looking at each other, and there was a lot of infighting and arguing over doctrinal things or practice things, and it refocused everybody on what was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, the worship since that next morning,
Changed.
which was that after the fire, was in a tent in our parking lot
Right.
when you could still smell
Wow.
the smoke.
Wow.
And after that day, our worship has just been on fire.
Isn't it? Ha ha ha. See what you did there.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how God can use tragedies, or God can use a situation like that to show his sovereignty and to show,
That's right.
to refresh, like you
control.
said.
Yeah.
Mark Lowry says it best. I love it. He said, "Don't you hate it when God's will for our life interrupts our plans?"
That it
It's
does.
like that's kind of, it was an interruption. That was an
Yeah.
interruption in everything, but it changed the trajectory.
It was, but it
right?
was a great blessing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So out of 375, I think you said, do you find it challenging? Obviously now you have multi-generational. So you have an
definitely.
older generation, young, multicultural. Now, do you guys have, what is your, my question is, what is your makeup in the congregation, and what challenges do you have when planning to make sure we're getting everyone touched
Mhm.
to be able to engage?
Yeah. A couple of principles, or at least one that was actually taught to me, and I passed this along, is just the reminder: anytime that you are in a worship service and you are absolutely loving what's going on right then, understand there's somebody else in this room that absolutely hates what's going on right now.
Truth.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in there and you're like, man, I can't stand this moment. When can we move on?
Yes.
There's somebody else that this is really life-giving for.
Right.
And they are really getting some depth and something out of it. I
Right.
suppose there could be a chance where nobody's getting anything out of something,
Maybe.
you know, but in general, that principle, I'm just reminded, like there may be some songs that they don't really speak to me, but I know for a
Powerful
fact
for
they
somebody
speak
else.
to this demographic
Yeah.
or this group of people. And so it's good for us to be multi-generational. You know, there are times we just need to get silly and sing our kids' songs,
Right.
and let them
Yes.
have their moment with us.
So you're intentional
Right.
when you're planning. You're intentional to engage each segment of your congregation, age group. What's your thought process even there?
I really do think. I am trying. We would be categorized as a contemporary congregation in terms of our worship, and so I would say I try to have at least one hymn And I would say that's probably 1975 and earlier. You know, now you could break down hymns into a whole bunch of different categories too.
That's a
of
whole
course.
nother podcast.
There's, I mean, you got your Stamps Baxter, you got your high church stuff. I mean,
right.
you got a wide variety. But I try to make sure I include at least a hymn. We'll still sing some of those Devo songs from the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
It's the go-tos. I mean,
We'll
really.
still do those, and then we'll be singing some from the 2000s. You know, even up to current date. You know, new releases, and so we try to have that variety in there because I want something for everyone, but not everything for just one person.
Right. Yes.
That's really where we're at. And it's a spiritual discipline to learn to sing each other's songs.
It is.
Mhm.
It takes some humility, and it reminds us, hey, we're here to encourage each other.
Yeah.
And that means it's
Yes.
not everybody encouraging me.
Yeah.
It's also me pouring out myself to encourage
That's right.
others.
That's so true. And so, kind of a cool thing. One of the biggest songs. We'll kind of move on here. One of the biggest songs right now in churches, as a whole, is this song called "The Goodness of God."
And you know the funny part about that, I mean, it's really well arranged.
It is.
I find
the Church of Christ arrangement is really, or the acapella arrangement is really, and
do we know who did that? By the way,
I think the guy who wrote it is sitting in our or
Yeah.
arranged it. He didn't write it, arranged it.
Well, we're
That's
missing
beautiful.
Mark Simmons, so
Okay,
let's
okay,
not go
okay.
too far.
It's okay. Shane's a big part of it, and again, I know a lot of folks that are in the background, side by side, you know, shoulder to shoulder with you there. But that, I think that's been the last couple of years has been one I think that's been really impactful because it's, you know, there's this. It's weird to talk about. There's the radio play. Like I hear this on the radio. I hear CeCe Winans do it, and that's impactful. And then to get to bring that into the church, I think it helps engage those that are new to the church.
Yes.
They see it outside. Oh, we can do that here. Oh, and it really sounds good.
And it works.
And
yeah.
it works. And it hits people.
It does.
Here.
That arrangement is very well done for congregational singing because, and we're going to talk about this later with Mike, and he's another guest, anyways. But arranging that and arranging these new songs can be challenging and filling voids, and that's the one that you guys just did a phenomenal job on. I wanted you to speak to a little bit. You do arranging, but you also have a ministry as well, Fearless for You.
Correct.
So kind of tell us about that because a lot of the new songs that are out there, you guys are diving in and arranging. Can you share about that? Because I think it's awesome.
You bet. Fearless for the number 4 and then YOU.com.
Say that 2 more times.
Yeah, Fearless, the number 4, not like literally just the 4.
Numerical 4.
YOU.com.
One more time.
Third time, fearless4u.com.
You should go check it out. It's a great website.
So what you'll check out
4U.
there is arrangements of contemporary songs. You'll find sheet music, you'll find music slides, and you'll find training tracks for all of those songs.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we don't have all 3 versions all at the same time, but that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And so that's really, we have a team of arrangers. There's a bunch of guys. We probably 13 or 14 guys.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
that are all a part of that
Wow.
ministry. It was started by Randy Gill and DJ Bulls in about 2011.
Okay.
Somewhere right around there. They'd been tagging along with Zoe conferences and doing new music as the pre-conference. And then Zoe took a couple of years off and didn't do any conferences. And so there was just no outlet to get new music out there in those moments. And so they decided, well, let's just get together and let's do a big one in Atlanta in 2011. So in November of 2011 in Atlanta, they tried to do 32 songs in one day. And we learned that was too many.
That's too many to learn.
That's a few too
That's
many.
a lot.
There's only so much bandwidth. We've talked about bandwidth a lot. There's only so much you have.
That was ambitious, but there were several years worth of songs.
Choices were made, lessons were learned. That's the
choices
phrase.
were made. That's right. There was just so many. There was a backlog of songs that we needed to get out there.
Right.
And so then that just kind of it just kept going, and they brought me on in about 2015, I think. I may have my year a little bit
Somewhere
off
back then.
but I mean, I knew those guys, and they knew me, and they had been introducing some of my arrangements there, and so we started going on yearly retreats together, just to talk through, okay, what new songs are out there, what do we have arrangements for, what do we not have arrangements for, what would we want, and that's a really humbling and sobering thing to think we're having conversations that are going to shape the hymnody of the church,
Right.
Wow.
of,
Yeah, I hadn't thought
of
about that.
churches of Christ.
Your
Anyway.
name is in the same place that William J. Gaither. And I was like, what? So it's the same spot on the sheet music.
Well,
That's a
it's
little-
only a ranger, not a
But
writer.
it's still in the same corner. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you're neighbors with Bill Gaither.
So,
That is-
but what he's really asking, Shane, when are
funny.
you going to start writing? I mean, I feel like that's the
I
next
don't know.
logical
Boy, I don't know.
place, right?
Yeah, I want to hop back though to Goodness of God real
okay,
quick.
Let's do
yeah.
it.
Because that arrangement probably had more different versions in my file folder than any other song.
Really?
And Mark and I batted that song around for I'm going to say several years, probably 2 years.
Wow.
Different versions to get it to the point where it is now and where it's sung in churches. And I'm telling you, those first versions would not have
Just not singable?
wouldn't
or
have worked.
Difficult?
Yeah. And so every time I would teach it somewhere, and then I'd go, okay, this part crashed and burned. We got to simplify this part. And so
Yeah.
I would go in and I'd work on it. Say, okay, let's simplify this part.
Got it.
To the point, and a lot of that's just, let's get some better music theory in here, and let's get something that's a little more singable, not too difficult. And so it took a lot of hard work between Mark and I, emailing it back and forth and wrestling over each note sometimes to get it to that point. But I think part of what makes that song work is that bass lead.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
yes.
everybody
Love
loves
it.
that.
Yes.
Everybody has really they've taken that, and that's not how it was originally. The first time that Mark worked through it, he actually had I think he had alto, tenor, and bass, or maybe it was soprano, alto, and tenor doing that part,
Really?
and then just having one other
Maybe a different
part
feel.
do the other. And so he had the idea, he had the concept right, and we just had to massage and
Steps,
figure
yeah.
out, okay, no, this is the way that it works, and it ended up working
I mean,
really
so
great.
great.
Every time we lead it where we go, there's usually not a dry eye because, and I have a story that we have a guy in our church. He lost his 15-year-old daughter in a car wreck. And he's an elder in our church now. I love him to death. And we sang that one Sunday, and he had to get up following that and do communion. But it impacted, and for him to say this, he got up and just said, God is just so good. He's fighting tears. And for him to say, all my life, God has been good. And knowing what he's going through and what he's had, no one should ever have to bury their child. It impacted him. And then his story now impacted someone else. It's just a powerful, every once in a while a song comes along that's just anointed.
Right.
Let's just call it what it is. And it's not necessarily the arranger that did it. It's just the Spirit of God is on that song.
Just blesses
And it
people
just blesses
more
people.
uniformly.
Yeah. But I'm thankful to know the guy who had some part in making it available to acapella, because otherwise it wouldn't have been made available. And I think that's awesome. And I applaud y'all's ministry for doing that.
Well, all praise to God.
Amen.
And
Keep it up,
and the
man. Keep it
songwriters and
Yeah. And you also do a new music conference. Well, I say a conference. What is it, a conference?
it's a new music event.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we've done several of those. We try to do one that we host each year, and that location varies. So we just had one in Oklahoma City in April. But we also go and be a part of new music events at other places, like United Voice Worship will have a new music pre-conference before their UVW conference. And we've gone to Tyler, Texas. Shiloh Road Church of Christ does Forest Song every January, and it's just all teaching new songs. And so we participate in that. So we're willing to go teach new music wherever people want to learn new music.
Great.
That's awesome. How is that? Last question here for me. How has that ministry, Fearless for You, and arranging songs and seeing that process work, how has that affected you as a worship minister and as a leader of a church? Like, has that shaped some of now how you plan and how you approach some things?
Well, that's a tough question.
Okay,
Right?
I didn't
That
prep
one-
you for that one.
no,
That's
that
a
That one
good
really is a tough question.
Nice job, man.
Got him. Yes.
Yeah. I would say, the access to resources is one. The ability to go test drive songs at other events and say, okay, do I think this would work at my place or not? There's a
Right.
ton of songs that I've arranged that are out there with my name on them, that we don't sing at Memorial Drive.
Just wouldn't
That
work
I've
for
never
that
taught.
congregation.
Yeah, that I've never taught at Memorial Drive, just because
Wow.
I just don't feel like they're right for us.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's a bad song, and they've blessed other churches, but it's just not right for us.
Wow.
And so that is a blessing to get to test drive
Yeah,
sometimes, here and there, and just to have such a wide pool of resources to choose from.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes, because I don't want to overwhelm
Right.
our folks with too many songs. I think it's wise to. I've actually taken our repertoire and tightened it up over the past few years. Whereas we used to have probably 700 songs in our database.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and I got it down under 300. And
They
said, okay,
sing
we're
these.
gonna focus on these songs, and that doesn't mean that I'm unwilling to add a song to it, but I've noticed an increase in participation as we have focused on those songs a little
What
bit
I hear
more.
is that you know your church. You got to know your congregation. And that's
That's it.
huge.
I mean, that's worship leading, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Right.
How
so.
can you lead
Yeah.
people in worship? Let me say this. It's much more difficult to lead people in worship if you don't know them.
Yes.
100%.
Now, there are some universal humanity kind of things
Sure.
that we know lots of people are going through.
Right.
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 We know that.
Right.
But if you intimately know your people, like when I lead a song and I look out and I see an individual in tears, well, I know their story.
Know the
You know what's going on.
I know
How do
what's
you get
going
through
on.
that? How?
Yeah.
Because that breaks me every time.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Well,
It's
it is
all right.
okay.
Yeah, tears are welcome, and yeah, that's all right.
And words are so, especially. I'm sorry. The words are so used, especially in our churches. Song leader, song starter, worship leader, worship minister. We had a great conversation at dinner today. Andrew Whitehouse and I. We were talking about you have a song leader who can start a song and can do good and does the process. Then you have a worship leader that's more coming from a place of overflow. They've had an encounter with God that week or whatever, and they're just coming from a place of. But I didn't even think about this. There's a next step, worship minister, where when you know your congregation on an intimate level,
Ministering
now
on.
you're ministering.
Oh yeah.
I thought that is. I've never thought about
Yeah.
that.
Right.
That is really, and that's what you're speaking to. When you
Yeah.
know the stories, now you're ministering.
Yeah, we used to host a big event in Tulsa called the Tulsa Workshop.
Yeah.
Some people have heard of that.
Mhm.
And so in its heyday, thousands of people would come. And people would ask me, isn't it really cool to get to lead worship for, 5,000 people or whatever it was? And I'm like, honestly, if you're going to give me the choice of leading at that big event
Right.
or leading at Memorial Drive on a regular Sunday, I'm going to pick Memorial
Yeah.
Drive.
It's more meaningful.
I'm going to pick home
Well,
because it's more meaningful.
you make the connections.
This is
It's
my
individual.
family.
Right.
Yes.
These are
More
my
blessing.
people,
It's your
and we
community,
know
it's
each
your-
other, and it just means more.
Just
That
means
sounds like
more.
the SEC.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's great.
I mean, we're going to try to get you over here. Well, he's not an
we
SEC
got these
guy,
Auburn
so
and
it's-
Alabama
he
guys
really wanted
over
to
here.
put orange behind us, and we just had to push back on that.
He's like, well, I got a blue shirt. It's like, well,
Yeah.
Alan will love it.
Yeah,
He's an
Auburn-
Auburn fan.
yeah.
So
Auburn's great. Well, so Shane, that touches on one thing, and again, this was an impactful thing for me. I think this was the first year in Jacksonville. You were talking about your hiring pathway, like trying to
Oh,
go
yeah.
out and take on the role of full-time worship minister,
Mhm.
right? Shifting gears. We talked about actually at the Praise and Harmony recording in Decatur, a little bit kind of follow-up, but tell us, for the worship leaders that are going to be listening to this, tell us the importance. I mean, why does your face matter? I mean, why does it matter that you are connecting and emoting genuinely with your congregation and being receptive to them and make that a two-way street? Why does it
Mhm.
matter?
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that?
what was your aha moment?
Tell
My
us about
aha
it.
moment. Did I tell you my aha
I think
moment?
you
Is that
told
what
us.
it is?
Do you want? I mean, if you want to share that.
Oh,
Can
I'm,
you
I'm
share it
happy.
with the
I'm
5
happy
people
to
that are watching?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. My aha moment was when I went to college, full-time worship ministers in Church of Christ, that wasn't a thing.
Right.
I'm old enough that just wasn't a thing yet. And there may have been 3 or 4 at that point. And so, but I've been leading singing since I was, teeny tiny.
Grass
I mean,
high to a knee hopper.
my grandpa was an elder, and he's
Knee high to a
Knee
grass
high
hopper.
to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
Wow, man, sorry about that.
Sorry.
My grandpa was an elder, and he smuggled me up there illegally before I was baptized and let me lead a song. I mean, like that was
Oh, wow.
scandalous
Wow.
right there.
Should we lead it as well right now for you to come forward on that? No, I'm sorry.
The song was "We Praise Thee, O God," if
Okay.
it matters.
Let's support it.
But anyway, so I mean, I have been doing this a long time. Absolutely love leading, singing, leading worship. And so I decided once I learned that it was a thing, I'm like, hey, I would like to do this. That'd be great. I was working, my degree's in construction management, and I was working for a general contractor. But I just started applying at job openings, and it took 8 years.
8 years.
8 years of applying.
Years. Wow.
And so there were a lot of moments in there where I'm like, okay, God, you don't want me to do this. That's fine. We will be content doing construction if that's what you want us to do.
Right.
But one of those aha moments that you speak of is one of the churches sent back their feedback to me because as a part of my, you send them your resume and then you send them a DVD of your self-leading worship.
DVD, for those of you listening, is a small
digital
disc
video disc
that you used to get put into after the VHS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
See,
sorry.
at least it wasn't VHS. So
8-track.
it was actually a DVD. So I sent them a DVD of me leading a Sunday morning, and their feedback to me was, Shane, you just don't bring any energy
Wow.
or joy.
Hmm.
And I was immediately offended,
Gut
obviously.
punch.
Obviously.
How
Of course
dare
I
you.
do.
Yeah.
I love Jesus.
And so I actually popped in the DVD and watched it through that lens. And by the end, I was like, you know what? I can't argue with them.
Right.
Wow.
It's true. It's true. I had no facial expression. I stood there like a tree,
Playing it by the waters.
and I had nothing.
I like it. That's great.
And so, that was my aha moment of, okay, this has to change.
And it hurt. I mean, it
It
had to
hurt.
have hurt. Like,
How old are you?
It hurt.
I mean, what's it?
It hurt.
How old were you? This is college.
At the time.
After
No,
college?
this would be after college.
After college.
Yeah. So I was in my mid to late 20s.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's when you think, I mean, it's 20. I had it all together as a 20-year-old.
Of
all
course.
figured out.
Had it all figured out,
That's when we think we know it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That is it. So it took that kind of brutal honesty
Yeah.
for me to realize, okay, they're right, and I need to make a change.
And I can say, so Shane shared this story at Worship Leader Institute, and I was like, oh, wow. I mean, it really does matter. You sort of feel, or at least I do, you wouldn't know it, but I'm a bit on the introvert, sort of spectrum of things.
You're my brother.
Yeah. And so it's a very extroverted thing to get up and emote and genuinely, like I care. I want people to see in my face and my eyes and truly to see in my heart, because the words that we're trying to lead you in are valuable and they're important and they're taking you somewhere, I hope. And so we're doing all these things, and there was some genuineness even as Shane is telling the story. Like I could just see almost the hurt and the transition. And I think that's powerful. I think your congregation, if you share those things with your brothers, and you can share the hurt that you've experienced, they gain. That's even more trust.
Trust, right.
It's a lot of
Well, it's
trust.
got to be genuine.
100%.
It can't be
Everything.
a show. It needs to come from your heart.
Yeah.
But I had to realize, hey, if I can go to a college football game, go Pokes, OSU,
There
Oklahoma
it
State.
is.
We know
There
what's
it
coming.
is.
If I can go there and show joy
Right.
and show passion and show energy, why can't I show that same thing
In
on
church. I think
I
Sunday?
think that'll preach in my church, and I think most churches in the
Absolutely.
SEC conference area at least.
Not to go Pokes part. Well, that's awesome. And just in kind of wrapping it up here, obviously we're here at WLI in
That's right.
Dale City, man. We believe in this so much because it just has shaped it. That's how this ministry was created. It was birthed out of WLI. It has shaped our relationship as friends. It's shaped everything. So, in your words, you've been coming here 19 years. Is that what you said? No, you've been
16. This would be my 17th right here.
There you go. Why should this person who's listening today, right now, who's thinking, I want to do this, why should they come here?
Yeah.
Why should they come to WLI?
Yeah. Well, Worship Leader Institute covers all the bases. The instructors and coaches here, I'll exclude myself from that.
You can
although
include
that is
yourself.
what I do.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But
You can brag a little bit.
they
There's
are
a free space here.
second to none These are guys that have been doing it for a long time and doing it well, high quality,
Right. Yeah.
and have a lot to offer. And without fail, folks come in thinking, I know it. It's that 20s.
Yeah.
We've all got that guy.
They
still
may be
within
in their
us somewhere.
60s or 70s though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're coming in thinking, but a lot of it's because we only know our context.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what you don't know.
And you don't know what you don't know. And unless you have a really diverse set of experiences, you only know your context.
Right.
And there's so much more to be learned out there once you get people from other experiences. And I gain. I mean, every time I come, I gain. Yeah. I'm reminded of the fundamentals, and I'm always a better worship leader when I leave here. And I do better at the fundamentals because I've had that practice again.
Yeah.
But I've also picked up something new. I've learned something new because I'm with guys that have different experiences. We have international students. They're bringing completely different experiences. We have people from different cultures bringing in completely different life experiences. Yeah. And so they have a fresh way of looking at things that I can't know that inherently. Right. I need somebody to teach me that.
Right.
And so, man, at WLI, you've got people that have the skill set to teach you anything you want to know and anything you're willing to work on. There are people here that can help you get better at that. Whereas at home, you may have this desire to get better, but there may not be anybody there to teach you.
Right. Right.
You know,
you may be the one with the most
You
experience.
may be the one with the most experience.
And you need to teach somebody there, right?
That's right.
Building the
That's
skill
right.
set.
But you need to learn,
But it also, this will give you the skills to teach people there,
Yeah.
to teach people back home as well, too.
That's awesome. Well, that's really all I got.
I mean, we could keep Shane here all night.
But it's getting late.
He's got to teach tomorrow, and
That's right.
We got to save some voice for
we
the
gotta
rest of the
save a
week,
little
don't we?
bit.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Shane,
Marathon.
thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Y'all don't forget to check out Fearless for You.
Yeah.
Number 4.
For you.com.
Yeah. Well, I want to
And,
really encourage you guys in your ministry because
Thank
I think you're doing a great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're sharing the joy and bringing the joy, and you're helping equip churches that might need that little jolt of energy.
Hey,
And keep doing that. That's
Thanks.
really important work.
Appreciate it.
thanks for the
Appreciate it.
encouragement,
Thank you.
all right. Well, we'll see you guys
On the next one.
next time. Couple weeks. See you then.
Have a good one. God bless you.
We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody, teaching others with the songs that we sing. We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody.
Thanks for joining us on From Pitch to Praise.
We hope this episode has encouraged you and given you new ideas to inspire your worship leadership.
If you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review to help others discover the podcast.
And don't forget to connect with us through infusionministries.org or follow us on social media for more resources and updates.
Until next time, keep leading with faith, love, and a heart full of praise.
We'll see you back here on From Pitch to Praise.
Praise the Lord and teach it.